Good afternoon, dear Elegance TV followers, and welcome to Blossoming Hearts, a space where we dive into the deep, honest questions that live in all of us. I'm Semiha.
And I'm Seniha.
And in this program, we will be sitting alongside other many content with thinkers, teachers, and scientists to explore the kinds of questions that don't always have easy answers, but definitely deserve our attention.
So, on today's first episode, we'll be talking about a question about ego. I think that it's something we all struggle with. There is a part of us deep down that just wants to be right, to feel certain. Sometimes we even tend to ignore facts and even reject them. But do we really know why we do this? I think that we should consider this topic. To explore this deep and complex topic, we're joined by Mr. Dr. Hakan Gök. Hello, Mr. Hakan. Welcome. We're glad to have you here. How are you doing?
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I'm good. Thank you.
So without further ado, I would like to address you my question. So what role does ego play in how we see or avoid the truth?
Thank you. Thank you. Many years ago, I was listening to this person. He was analyzing one of the root causes of global problems. And the expression he had stuck to my mind. And he said, the source of the global problems are not economical. They are not ecological, but they are ego-logical. Do you see that? It is not economy, it is not ecology, it is ego. So they all start with E.
That's true.
And he opened it up. I mean, economy, yeah, you can put things right. Ecology, yeah, I mean, you can take actions and you can, again, put things right. I remember back in 1980s, maybe early 1990s, we had this big ecological problem called thinning the ozone layer. So it was because of the CFC sprays. Ecological problem, you take an action and you can put things right. But when it comes to ego-logical problems, well, it's more difficult because everybody puts themselves at the heart of everything. Ego, he says, it's me first. I don't care if the rest of the world starves or dies or burns. I don't care. As long as I'm happy, as long as I'm comfortable. This is what he meant by ego-logical problem. So if you put the ego at the center of everything, he thinks it's bigger problem than economical and ecological problems. So yeah, ego and egotism, arguably one of the main causes of most problems. But why do we have it then? I mean, why is it? It is inherent in our creation, in our being. Everybody has some level of ego. Is there a reason why we are given this ego, and how do we manage it? Is it making us do evil, or is it making us do good things? Yeah, I've been thinking about this. How does, human ego affect individuals and society in general? I think the reason behind human beings having ego is to measure and compare things with other people. For example, you have ego and you think you're powerful. Are you going to use this to oppress other people, or are you going to use this for the benefit of other people? So if you are given this uh, right to choose, imagine you don't have any ego you would be just like a robot, just like a machine without any emotions, and you wouldn't operate properly. You're given ego and you're given power so that you can make correct judgment when it comes to, taking decisions. But it is difficult. It is, how can you sacrifice, how can you compromise something that might benefit you? This is another interesting one. Probably you're watching and seeing billionaires. We got a lot of very wealthy people. And when you realize they start giving a lot of their wealth away, they do some charitable work. At first, I didn't understand because I don't come from a particularly rich background. So, earning stuff, saving money, and building wealth is something inherent to us. We all want to own that nice car. We all want to buy that big house. But I think when you come to a certain point, this doesn't give you satisfaction. That's why certain people, they enjoy more by giving things away. I just find this very interesting. Certainly, I'm not at that point yet fully, but I think it is telling us putting yourself at the center of everything and hoarding all the wealth and benefit is not necessarily the right thing. And you discover this at certain point in your life. You think, no, what is the point of, owning all this stuff, having all this money in the bank account? No, let me just open a water well in Africa so that people can get fresh water, or do some charitable project somewhere, and you have this sense of satisfaction. So it's all about using the tools given to you correctly. But again, we live in the West. In most cases, everything is egocentric. You put yourself at the center of everything instead of looking at things, okay, how should I be beneficial to society? How can I be beneficial to the planet? But instead, people think, okay, I'm gonna buy the biggest SUV with biggest engine or the biggest battery these days because everything is electric.
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy the latest model of everything. No, when you think about it, how much satisfaction can you get? I mean, at one point, I was visiting somebody and he was showing me his walk-in closet. In my house, I got a little cupboard. I got a couple of shirts and some socks. Because to me, that's where you keep your clothes. So the person says, "Oh, we got a walk-in closet. Let me just show you." I said, "All right." It looked like another room. In the corridor, you got like bedroom door, bathroom door. There is another door. It's just like a room. You open, it's an entire room with shelves and racks and stuff, all the shirts and jackets and stuff, everything. It was like a mini shop. You can start a retail shop. I said, all good, but how much clothes do you need to live a comfortable life or to be happy? I think that person was still at an early stage of maturity because he was still thinking having a massive walk-in closet with 40 pairs of shoes, I don't know how many pairs of shirts. You can't imagine. It is just like a clothing section of a department store, rows after rows, shelves stuck with t-shirts just for one person.
A small mall.
It is, yeah, it's like a talking around ego. Ego is given to you to look after yourself. Don't put yourself in danger. Don't do anything stupid to harm you. But again, it is a tool. You look at yourself, okay, owning this t-shirt makes me happy. I can own 10, but that's not what is ego given for. You think, okay, my ego tells me this is a beautiful polo shirt, I love it, and I should be probably helping someone else to get something similar so that he can be happy too, and I get happiness from his happiness. You see, the levels of ego. At an elementary level, you go probably buy 5 more t-shirts for yourself because you think it's going to get you happiness. But as you think deeper and probably mature, you start thinking, okay, I'm going to keep this old one more year, and I'm going to do something better for the benefit of others. And then you realize it gives you more happiness. So it is a tool so that you can make a correct judgment. I'll give you another example of this. I was born and raised in a, not very rich part of the country. So owning stuff uh, is important. Your ideal is you should get yourself a car and get yourself a house. And my wife is French. I met her for the first time. I went to their home to introduce myself. My dad never owned a car. Never. It was public transport. Belediye otobüsü yani. All the time. I went to their house. There were 3 people in the house, mom, dad, and sis. And there were 3 cars in the driveway. It's a given. It's, Alsace in France. And it's not even in Britain. I mean, a car is cheaper than, good high-spec bicycle. Once you reach that, you lose your motivation to have it. So this is what's happening with my wife. She's got a bicycle. She enjoys riding to places instead of driving. I said, look, there is a car. Why don't you just drive? It's wet. It's cold. Because for me, it is inconceivable. You have a car and you do a push bike to go to a place. My brain doesn't, grasp it. Whereas she had that background. She's seen it, she's done it all, she got the badge, and she realized, no, I mean, there isn't much in it. There is more happiness if you don't drive your car because you are protecting the environment. You are not releasing CO2 emissions, stuff like that. And that's when I realize the mindset of an Eastern person and a Western person. She's quite happy because she thinks it's the moral high ground, which is true. Why should you drive your 2-liter diesel car just to go like a kilometer and park there? But for me, it is still okay, so I'll still drive. But for her, it's a different story. She thinks because she gets more satisfaction in altruism because she compromises. Look, I'm giving away from me. I'll push my bike for the benefit of the planet. I don't know how much impact she's having on the planet, but at least ethically, she thinks, yeah, this is the right thing. This is the good thing, and I enjoy doing it. So in time, all those little things that we don't understand, other people find it very satisfying. You see people spending the big chunk of their lives in, poor parts of the world, in like Africa or some Southeast Asian places, just to help other people. There is more satisfaction in it, obviously. I'll come back to the original, this ego issue. The person, he said, the problem is not economical, it is not ecological, but it is ego-logical. And we automatically think this ego is something evil. Not really. As I just explained, it is a tool to make the right judgment, to do the right action. So a few examples, like the ones I gave. Otherwise, you can't have a properly functioning society. If it is muted, imagine a regime where you cannot own anything, where you cannot be, prioritize yourself, where you cannot express yourself. I mean, there are societies like this. I'm not going to give names, but if you look at the internet, you're going to find certain countries where, those human feelings are just cut off and people are treated like robots and machines. And you just realize it is not ideal. It is not working. So we are giving this ego not to hoard everything for ourselves, but to make a correct judgment for the benefit of society and the planet in general. I mean, I don't want to go too deep into the philosophical and theological aspect of it, but I don't think you can fully understand this ego without looking into what our, you know, elders and scholars talk about this. This is another thing I realized when I was doing my literature research. When you do your PhD, the first year is about literature research. You just go out and read what's out there. I'll connect it to this doing wider research to understand the true meaning of ego. But I'll take you many years ago to my personal experience. I was studying human conscience, vicdan.
Mm.
There are two ways of looking at this. I said, okay, let me just look at how this is handled in a secular context. I went out, searched the academic books, and I found very secular from atheistic perspective. I grabbed the books, I read them, and I'm just thinking, no, I mean, you are missing more than half of the picture, because if you try to explain everything in a materialistic, secular way, you are missing. So this guy was talking about human conscience, vicdan-ı beşer, in a completely secular uh, context. I can't remember his name, but the book is somewhere there. Then I went into, okay, we are Muslims, and we got our own resources, and our scholars also studied this. Then I started looking at how Muslim scholars look at things, and I say, this makes sense. This makes sense. What is the reason? Why is that very famous, world-renowned American philosopher, professor is missing what these Muslim scholars getting? I think it's simple. I give you one analogy and it's gonna make sense. Imagine you have a car and you have a garage. You get into the garage and there is a problem with your engine. And you look at the engine, you need certain tools to undo, let's say a screw. There is a screw and you look at it, it's not a flat, it is not Phillips, it is a different shape. Then you look at the tool board on the wall, you look at all the tools, you think nothing is matching. So this problem cannot be solved because I cannot see any tools to undo that screw. And someone tells you, well, turn that board around or look behind the board. There are more tools at the back so that you can find the matching tool. I think this is a good analogy to understand why we should look at the spiritual and theological aspect of things. Otherwise, like most atheist scholars, they say, I'm looking at the tools, I'm looking at the screws, nothing is matching, this cannot be solved. It's a dilemma, it's going to go like that. But Muslim scholar says there are more tools behind the wall. What do I mean by the tools behind the wall? Well, the hereafter. Because that secular guy who was trying to explain stuff, he wants to explain everything with what he can see around him. But a Muslim scholar, he says, well, this is happening because there is afterlife and your being continues and there is going to be reward, retribution. Then everything makes sense. You say, oh, yeah, that's why there is evil in this world. Oh, yeah, that's why this person is doing all good deeds but suffering and getting punished. Oh, yeah, this dictator killing so many people, like Pol Pot. Probably you don't remember him, but we all do. There was a guy called Pol Pot in Cambodia, big time dictator. He murdered his people in millions. And you can still go to Cambodia and there are like skulls, hundreds of them. And you're just thinking, yeah, I mean, this guy murdered half of his people and nothing happened to him. Unless you look at the whole picture, what happens when you die, afterlife, you're stuck, you get depressed, you go suicidal. You say, look, all evil happening and they can get away with it. But from Muslim perspective, no. There is gonna be a big judgment. Everybody will, answer to what they have done. You see, you look at the full picture. When it comes to, I'm gonna bring and connect it to ego and try to wrap
Yeah.
it up. When it comes to understanding ego, you cannot simply understand the whole thing in a secular context because as Muslims, we have to look, okay, what is this ego? Why is it given? What do our scholars say about it? Few famous scholars like Nursi that I studied many years, he has got, you know, very good, very satisfying analysis of ego. Why is it given? How can we use it for good? And it is the 30th word. I think one of you guys were talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should look at the whole thing and we should also look at our own resources. I think I have bored you a lot, so I'm gonna stop here.
No, I think when you repeated a few times the word tool, it reminded me of the metaphor of a mirror. So I have my notes with me right now. So if we imagine a mirror, we know that it doesn't have light on its own. But if we put it on, if we place it in front of the sun, we'll see the sunlight, so its reflection. So we know that the mirror doesn't do the job on its own, and we can't say that the mirror can't say that I'm the sun or that I have the power because it's the sun who has the power to reflect the sun. So it reminds me of like we as humans don't create beauty, power, or mercy, or even knowledge. We can't say that they're truly ours or they belong to us. So the mirror, I think it's not a source, but it's a surface. We can say that. And if we consider the mirror as the ego, for example, if the mirror gets dirty, the sunlight or the reflection, the light will be distorted. So it's also if our ego is clouded with fear or pride or power, then we can't see the light or the truth. That reminded me of this metaphor. I don't know if you agree with me or not.
Beautiful, beautiful. I am impressed. I was just thinking, I should have asked her the question. Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. But mind you, we are trying to squeeze a
Yeah,
topic in 20, 30 minutes.
it's a really complex topic, I know.
True.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking, oh, they started with a big one. So, yeah.
Yeah, I also have like I'm interested in philosophy too, and I think Socrates he said the only thing I know that I don't know nothing. I think it's really a question that we should also consider in our
It, it,
context.
it is true at work. Okay, so in line with what you just said, we got team of 11 people, and most people, probably everybody else is younger than me. but we got the team lead. And sometimes, probably because of my age, people may find me a bit intimidating. But I was having this one-to-one with the team lead. And I said to her, I said, my default position is I am wrong and other people know this better than me. So I'm open. Anyone can criticize my work. Anyone can suggest me better way of doing it. Because as Socrates said, the only thing I know is that I don't know. So this is the way to improve yourself. Always say, okay, what I know may not be right. And probably other people know better than I do. That way you can always improve. You
Yeah,
open.
I think that's the problem of our society, because we think that we know better than everyone or like everything, and it's a complex situation.
But also this doesn't mean, recently probably you are all born and lived with it, this social media. If you have a smartphone, you can just sit and talk about any subject as if you are an expert. You should be selective to it. I'm watching stuff. The guy is or the girl is just talking rubbish. Skip it. Then you hit the right person. You say, okay, let me listen. Probably what he says is something I don't know. So that's how you improve yourself. You shouldn't just randomly consume anything. When it comes to diets and stuff, then you end up having really stupid ideas like flat earth. Some stupid person made some video and it just spread like wildfire. Yes,
Yeah.
we acknowledge that there are people who are more knowledgeable than us, but this doesn't mean that we should listen and take everybody serious, because there is a lot of rubbish out there.
Yeah, we should choose our sources.
Yeah.
Correctly. So you said that ego is a tool in search of, I don't know, truth or like in our life. So it's not always a barrier, right? Can you explain a bit more?
I think when I said ego is a tool, this expression comes from Nursi's writing. He says, okay, I got my ego. You say, I'm powerful. I can make you miserable. I can put you in jail. I can liberate you. I can make you rich. Okay, I have power. Then you realize at some point your power ends and there is show of bigger, greater power all around you. Okay? Then you think, my power is limited. And you think, I can hurt you. I can kill you. I can kill all these people. Then you realize, there is another power who can create and kill in billions. In Britain, it's spring. Everywhere, flowers, ducklings, and animals. You just think, yeah, I have this, but very limited. I love my children. I can die for them. But then you realize there is a greater show of greater love, greater compassion. So that ego and everything it comes with actually gives you a better understanding. Who owns the show? Who
Yeah.
owns those qualities? Ego is essential. And ego, particularly given to human beings, to understand where they stand in relation to universe and the maker of the universe. You just realize, I'm nothing. I'm the ruler of this land, but there is the ruler of this world, the ruler of this solar system, the ruler of
That's
this
true.
universe. Then you think, oh, I'm nothing. And you submit to that higher power. So ego is a tool to understand where you stand in relation to that higher power.
This reminds me of your example when you gave an example of a mirror. So if a mirror, for example, reflects a light, so it's not its light. So I mean it can see the light that it's reflecting,
That's
basically.
true.
So it understands the light basically and knows that there is a light, you
Yeah,
know.
that mirror analogy is beautiful. You just think, okay, I'm compassionate about people. But where do I get this compassion from? Well, I'm angry about when there is unfairness. But where do I get this sense of anger? Actually, it is the reflection of the source. So God has all those qualities. You're just reflecting some of it. You say, I love my children, I love my home, I love my country, but God loves entire universe.
Yeah.
I'm angry at this thing, I'm angry at that thing, but yeah, the feeling, sense of anger comes from God. So ego is a tool, and you understand, you're given that so that you can understand where it comes from, the source of it. So
Yeah, it's a beautiful image, I think.
Yeah, okay. I think also one of the barriers to a user ego is being in a materialistic society, as you talked about it earlier, with all the clothes and like putting value on materials.
it is so true. I think it is capitalism, it's called, and there is this term called controlled obsolescence or something along those lines. In capitalist societies, to get the economy going, they give certain life to every item. When I was little, we used to buy one t-shirt. My brother wore it. He grew, then I took it, I wore it, then I passed it. It is true. The boots, the shoes, it was like that. You just pass it. But now, no, you have to throw it away and you have to buy a new one. This is madness. And a lot of people think this is where happiness is, by buying more. No, it is wrong. It is done by design. And it is, as soon as people find out the plot, they say, oh, this is a trap. It is not a source of happiness. And as I said, people find happiness in like cycling, like growing their own vegetables in an allotment garden, giving away to charity. You just realize, oh, these are the true source of happiness, not owning that, 500,000 pound, whatever class, whatever car, because there is no end to it. I heard this observation, which I find quite sad, really. There is this psychological condition of certain millionaires. If their yacht is less than 20 meters, even the guy has a yacht, millions of pounds, but apparently they are really sad people because they always look at bigger yachts and they look at their own yacht. "Ah, mine is on 20 meters. Look at Abramovich. It's like no, 200." Then you realize it is not source of happiness.
There's no end to it.
There is no end to it. It is true. When you have that biggest yacht, then you want to go to space and colonize space. You want something more, something more. Until death comes to you. Then you realize there is this cartoon on the internet. It's circulating. I just love it. A cartoon. This guy comes to the grave with two suitcases full of dollars, money popping out, and there is this angel of death with that sickle, I think. He says, "You can leave them here. You don't need all that to in where you're going." So the guy came to grave with all that money he accumulated in life, and the angel says, "No, no, leave them here. Where you're going, you don't need all that." It is so true. I mean, you don't need any of these. Okay, you should have certain level of comfort. You should have some sort of smartphone, some sort of roof on top of your head, reasonable food and clothing. But honestly, you don't need expensive designer's clothes. You don't need the latest iPhone 16 Plus Pro, whatever. I got 10. It is working just fine. I am happy. The car I drive is just doing the job. It's fine. I think at the start, how we said, it is about mental maturity. Mental maturity in Sufi tradition, Dervish tradition, that is what they train you to attain. How do you get maturity? You know, you just think about death. This is Sufi tradition. I studied Mevlevi tradition. You know, they go to Tekke and Derya and they spend 40 nights. They cut the amount of food and drink and they cut their sleep. They worship, they contemplate to improve themselves spiritually. It was easier, probably, at in olden days, but in modern times it's pretty difficult. But I think we should all work for spiritual maturity. Some people understand this at a young age. They say, no, this is trap. This is not what we are here for. And some people they realize at the age of 90, when they are in deathbed about to go, they think, yeah, all the years I spent hoarding and gathering this money and wealth was pretty useless and pretty problematic. I wish I had spent it on, good things, good deeds. Yeah, I hope, you know, we reach that spiritual maturity early on so
Yeah,
that,
I hope as well.
we can shape our lives more effectively.
I hope so.
So in the end, to sum up, I think we have the right to choose and to think. So we have to make the right choice and use the ego as a tool to seek happiness.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Well said. But again, there is only so much we can fix this ego in 30 minutes because I know a lot of people spend their lives on
Yeah,
understanding ego and they did their researches, PhDs, wrote books. But I think this is a good start in 30
yeah,
minutes because we show and we agreed certain cornerstones. Then I think our listeners and the audience should certainly go out there and do more research, and particularly in light of Islamic tradition, what do our sources say? Because as I said, it's almost impossible to solve world's problems
Yeah.
in fully secular context. We should look at our resources as well.
that's true. Well, thank you,
Thank you
Dr.
so
Hakan
much.
Gök. Thank you, Hakan Gök Abi, for sharing your time with us.
Thank you.
It was truly enlightening, and well, I think that we understood more about this complex topic of the ego. So thank you so much.
As
Thanks
well
for
as
having me.
to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this the journey of discovery. Until next time, take care.
Bye.
Thank you so much.